Hello and welcome to the first ever predictions show. This is really, really exciting. Um, I've brought in someone that had really good predictions last time around, Angry Beaver. Ray, I was listening to Throwback Stream a couple of weeks ago. I noted that you did really well with your Fastlane predictions. So I kind of penciled in who I wanted to main event the opening prediction show for this channel. First and foremost, welcome to the show. And how are you feeling now that you have to kind of put your record on the line here?
Well, I do have to say I'm honored, privileged to be the first. A lot of pressure. You want to set a good foundation for the show. Uh, I kind of looked at it and said, what would I do? And then I also said, what would WWE do? And then typically those ended up being different. And so I went with what WWE would do. And sometimes you get them and sometimes you don't. So hopefully we'll get more of them right this time.
I, Yeah, I think that's very, very interesting concept because obviously in a show like this, and for guys that are listening to this, obviously it's the brand new show. I spoke to Throwback and we were thinking of what we can do for a predictions show. And I know as a wrestling fan myself, and I'm sure you will agree, for you, fantasy booking is one of the really fun things that we can do as wrestling fans.
Yeah.
But for this specific show, I wanted us to go according to what we think WWE is going to do. So we're going to do our predictions in a short while. We're going to do NXT TakeOver, Stand and Deliver. We're going to do WrestleMania as well, the main card. Now, however many of those you can get right in terms of who you think is going to win the match, and you can get bonus points for how you think the match is going to be won as well. So if it's DQ, pin, submission, you throw that in there as well. We can give you the bonus points. We'll then look at the total amount of points that you get over the whole WrestleMania weekend. And this week, first time around, you're going up against me. So we'll see whether or not I can knock you out first time around. But so that should be really good fun. But if you do, as I'm expecting, I've booked you as the champ, and I've put a lot of pressure on myself going up against someone that is so good at this. If you win this one, next time around, we'll see who will step up. We might get them to cut a promo on you. We'll have to, go through and see who is really strong in the predictions era and the predictions world, and we'll bring them on. You'll go one-on-one, head-to-head against them, and we'll kind of make it a King of the Hill thing. And we're just going to keep going, knocking people out, pay-per-view after pay-per-view, and then we'll full circle it around to WrestleMania next year again, and we can have our big blow-off predictions challenge there, and we'll see we got some cool ideas in terms of prizes and all of that could be coming your way, if you end up winning that, if you end up staying King of the Hill. You mentioned you're confident. Should we crack on?
Yeah, let's get right to it. You mentioned King of the Hill. I've seen that show every single episode at least half a dozen times. So I got all the tricks. I'm ready. Bring it, everybody.
This is why I brought you onto the show. As I said, I did my scouting. Like any good wrestling booker, you got to make sure you bring someone strong in, someone you think can defend themselves quite well. I don't know if you want to cut a quick promo on any of potential challenges that could be coming your way.
Okay. If you've watched our Tuesday show that we do on Throwback's other channel, you've seen recently that there's a man who I offered friendship to, and I'm talking about Mr. Anakin JMT. I have shown him a lot of care. I have made him offers of friendship, and he has turned his back on me several times. So if he thinks he gets a shot at this title, he's got to go through the gauntlet to get there, because I am the person who is in charge of our group there, and he needs to remember that. So Mr. Anakin JMT, I'm laying down the gauntlet for you. You want to get to me, you got to run the gauntlet.
You heard it here first. Anakin JMT, you've been called out. We'll see if he responds. Maybe we'll keep an eye on his Twitter and stuff like that, but we'll see if he responds. We'll see if he's up for the challenge. Maybe I might, give him some, matches that he can take out some jobbers or something, get his profile really built up, and then we could have maybe a Survivor Series or something, SummerSlam. We could have a showdown. That could be really fun. But we got a huge list of matches to go through, so we'll get going. And I'm going to start big with night one of NXT TakeOver. We've got Io Shirai versus Raquel Gonzalez. Now, this has been a feud that has been slowly bubbling and then just absolutely took over NXT this past week in terms of they were a thread throughout the whole show. Is this the time for Io Shirai to lose her championship, or are you going to go with her defending the championship?
So I think the fact that Io has been the champion for a long time really does matter here. I would have liked to have seen her run be a little bit more impressive, but part of that is just the way that stuff is booked and the fact that we haven't had a crowd or anything like that. So not necessarily things that are her fault, but Raquel has been built up really, really well the last several months. This really goes all the way back to War Games. So knowing the way that that's been built over the last several months, I do think this is the time for Raquel to take that step, because part of this too is if Raquel loses this, who else does Io really have to go through? Like, I know Taya Valkyrie is supposedly going to be doing something soon, but Raquel and Taya Valkyrie can be a fun match too. So I think it's the time to put the belt on Raquel, and Io's had a long run too. So it's not that she's been hot shotted or anything like that. She's just, you got to move it sometimes, and Raquel has been built really well. So I would go with Raquel here.
Yeah, that's a solid shot. Predictions, pin, submission, DQ, any shenanigans on this one?
I think Dakota Kai always makes shenanigans possible. I would hope that this goes clean, because if you are trying to establish Raquel as the dominant force that you have been for a long time, I think you put her over clean, and Io can look really, really good and still take a pin. I don't like the idea of Io losing and then jumping main roster, but that's probably what we'll see. But as far as pin goes, I would hope Raquel just pins her clean.
Yeah, that's a clean win for Raquel. And it's interesting because I'm going to go head to head on you on this first one.
Okay,
I'm going for a pin as well, but I'm going to keep the title on Io. I think that Triple H is going to keep the title on Io, and the reasoning behind that was what happened on Wednesday. It seemed like the immovable force, Raquel Gonzalez, she just telling Io back down, stay down, but Io just kept coming. And I think that kind of story of putting Io over, as much as I would love Raquel to win it, but the way they booked it, of Io just not refusing to die and just keeps coming back and coming back, they can tell a really good story with that. And if she then takes the title there, and I'm always have on the back of my mind when it comes to Vince and some of the, Raquel is a specimen. She looks like an absolute machine. And I can always think, it just takes one day for Vince to take a look at her and be like, oh yeah, I need her. Bring her up right now. And I could see something like this where it happened with Bianca Belair, where she never won the title, but she got called up. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a similar situation for Raquel on this one. But speaking of people being called up, we know one person that definitely doesn't want to be called up, and that's Tommaso Ciampa. And he's going up against Walter for the NXT UK Championship. Now, I don't know if he wins the title and then goes to NXT UK, does that still count as the he doesn't want to be called up thing? Or is he going to, just allow Walter to have a really good showcase, maybe profile him a bit more with the US crowd, get them more familiar with him, and send him back to the UK with that belt? I mean, it's an impressive record.
Yeah, I think the fact that Ciampa doesn't want to go main roster, I think that basically means, okay, if you're not going to go main roster, you're also probably not going to be our champion all the time, because we've done that enough times. You got to get the belt on some other people. If he's not a champion, what are you doing with him? Getting younger talent over is a good use of him. He's a guy that you can look at him and go, he's strong enough to go against Walter and probably be able to hold his own. But Walter is so massive and so intimidating that I think this is a spot where you can give Walter the win here. and Ciampa can again put this guy over, kind of the way that he did with Karrion Kross, who I know we'll talk about later, but he did that with Karrion Kross last year, and it worked really well until Kross's injury. I think, you know, the idea that Walter has had this title, when we have this match, Walter will have eclipsed 2 full years of being champion, because he won it on April 5th of 2019. So tomorrow, this is a way to me, get that UK title, that brand over a little bit more, because Walter beating Ciampa, it won't surprise anyone who's watched it, but it'll make you go, okay, they're really, really pushing him even more. So, yeah, I don't think Ciampa is going to go UK. That just, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and especially I think one of the big factors, and maybe it will bleed into one of the other matches, is the whole travel between UK and the US at the moment. Just for, you know, I'm in the UK myself, so from our perspective, we're not really opening up the country until about like June, July time is when they're planning on kind of opening everything up. They're hoping to have at least offered everyone the vaccine by July. So I can imagine travel back and forth. Although it's WWE, they've got pull. They could get guys over. I just think that constant travel might not be as fluid at the moment. So I can see this being a showcase match for Walter, just in reintroducing him to the US crowd. Obviously, he's had some matches, both NXT and main roster as well, but just once again, give them a nice idea of who this guy is, why he's so impressive, why you should be watching NXT UK. And then Tommaso, I don't think he loses anything losing this match.
No.
He's just he's like AJ Styles type of thing, where he can take losses and you're still going to be able to throw him in a title picture if you want to. He's just that type of guy. But I think it's just going to be Walter's night, and I'm really looking forward to that one. And I spoke about the UK, and I'm going to double book the UK here, because grizzled young veterans are trying to go for the NXT title, and they're going up against MSK and Legado del Fantasma. Obviously, titles had to be vacated. I don't know if they had to be, but titles were vacated. I think that's a touchy subject for many people. But you're going to look, if you're going to vacate the titles, I'm happy with a 3-way, because I think there's a lot of cool ways that they could go about it, and the type of feud that could come out of this. And have you got the same feeling as me in terms of one of those teams doesn't fit here? It looks like someone might be taking a pin to keep the other two strong.
Yeah, that's exactly where I think we're going with this. I completely agree. I don't think the tag titles needed to be vacated. We saw last year with the stuff with Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle, where Pete Dunne was stuck overseas, stuck over in Europe, and couldn't get over, and so that's what gave us Timothy Thatcher. I don't know why you couldn't have said, "Hey, Pete Dunne, you know this situation. Insert Pete Dunne, and then he can help defend the tag titles." That would have made sense to me. But if they're going to do a vacation of the titles, I do like the idea of putting 3 teams in there, just because you can get something more unique out of that. Saying like, "Hey, look, we have depth to this. We can't just give 2 teams. We've got to give multiple teams here at least an opportunity." But I do agree with you that I think Legado del Fantasma is being put here to eat a pin, and that's unfortunate for them, because they've been very good as Santos Escobar's right-hand man, which obviously we'll talk about Escobar and all that stuff in a little bit. But I feel bad that they're going to be in here to take a pin, but I do think Grizzled Young Vets are the ones that make the pin there. I know MSK has been that fun new team that I loved their work in Impact as the Rascals. I think the babyface nature of that team is actually why you go Grizzled Young Vets, because I think you're long-term booking this one of give the titles to Grizzled Young Vets, because then the babyfaces have to chase for the title. And there's the backstory of Grizzled Young Vets lost to MSK in the Dusty Cup, and Grizzled Young Vets can say, "Yeah, you beat us there, but we won the tag titles. So what does it really matter? You win your little tournament. We have the titles." And then that gives you the obvious reason of, well, why should they have to fight again? Well, because MSK beat them before. So you have a story set and ready to go there once you do that.
I love it. And as we said, that's what the beauty of the triple threat does, is it allows a story like that to really develop. Now, I'm happy that there's a lot of matches going around for this NXT takeover, because I'm going to agree with you for Grizzled Young Veterans. I was surprised that you went with them as well. I'm gonna back the local boys. Not so local because I think they're from Liverpool. I'm here in London, but UK versus US pride here.
Right.
I'm gonna back Grizzled Young Veterans. I thought they should have won the Dusty Cup last year. I thought they should have won it as well. So it was kind of,
I believe they were supposed to win last year, and then because Riddle and Dunn got so popular, they changed it. But I would have, if I was picking with my heart, I'm picking MSK,
yeah.
but I'm gonna pick with my brain here. But yeah, I love MSK. Their work in Impact was really, really fun. They've used them really well in NXT so far, but I think, like you said, that I think going Grizzled Young Vets is probably the move here.
And it allows for a longer term feud.
Yeah.
If you have Grizzly Young Vets, as you've explained perfectly, MSK then get to chase them, and you can always crown them at the next pay-per-view or 2 pay-per-views down the line or something like that.
Yeah.
I love that this is one of those matches that we were talking about where you want to go one way with your heart and you're hoping MSK gets to win it, but you just know WWE and you've watched them for a long time, so I think you know them really well. I'm going to go MSK here as well. The match that follows this one, obviously in terms of our run sheet and not necessarily in terms of the night itself, but we've got Leon Ruff versus Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Bronson Reed versus Cameron Grimes versus Dexter Lumis, and LA Knight is also in this one. It's the gauntlet match for the NXT American title shot, which will happen on night 2. Now, there's a whole host of people in this one. If we then end up with the same person, I think people are going to think that there's something shady going on with the booking here. So please do not pick who I think is going to be winning this one. But I'm gonna give you first crack at who you think is going to be taking this gauntlet match.
Okay, so when I look at this, I also have to consider the order in which everybody's coming in. If I was picking purely with my heart, I would be picking Isaiah Swerve Scott. Problem is, he comes in first, and that's really, really hard to have somebody do that. I do like the fact that this is everyone comes out every 3 minutes, so you can potentially have 3, 4, 5, or even all 6 of these guys in the match at once. So you've got a lot of options as far as what this match can look like. But given the order of when people come in, I basically got it down to either Cameron Grimes or Dexter Lumis, and then looked at the story with Gargano, because they will be facing Gargano night 2. Dexter Lumis obviously has the whole story background with Austin Theory, and I think there's some fun that you can do with this. When I look at Cameron Grimes, I go, he's got his meme stock money. He's been doing some pretty funny things. We saw what he was just doing with Grimesing the system. I thought that was hilarious. Cameron Grimes and Johnny Gargano can put together a very funny story, because I think whatever happens with the match Sunday or Thursday night, got used to the weekend pay-per-views. Not used to a Thursday pay-per-view, but the match going Thursday, I think, will set up a rematch down the road too. So I'm going to go with Cameron Grimes to win this. I wouldn't be mad with Dexter Lumis either, but I'm going to pick Cameron Grimes just because I think the story they're going to do can be pretty funny, and he's been doing a lot of really good stuff to where you give him that title shot.
I love the fact that you've actually booked this perfectly, because I'm going to go with Dexter Lumis, and we can amazingly in a match with so many people go once again head to head for this one. I think the story is there with Dexter Lumis and Johnny Gargano, and the way the entire story has been kind of built towards a one-on-one match between them, and I think this is the perfect place to do it. It will be interesting to see if Dexter Lumis just stands at the side during this match, like he did over the week when they were doing the Battle Royal. But I think Dexter Lumis wins this. They continue the storyline. Cameron Grimes possibly could then come in after Gargano's feud with Dexter Lumis, and then you could then revisit, because I mean, as you said, they've already got that link between Cameron Grimes and Dexter Lumis. Now it will be, the next phase of that will be when it's going for a title. That then you can always do that story again, opposed to just sometimes where you overrun a story too much. At least now there's bigger stakes as well. You're now putting a title in there, but I'm going to go with Dexter Lumis, and we'll swiftly move on to night 2, which I think it's safe to say will be headlined by Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross. Now, this has been a match a long time coming, and they finally get this match. How do you think that they're going to book this match? Or is it the same as how you would have done it, or how you would have wanted to? And how do you think the winner's going to win it?
So this is one where the heart gets kind of tough, because I really love Finn Balor. He is a guy that I really enjoy watching. His title reign has been pretty good. He's defended against quite a few people, multiple defenses against Pete Dunne, against Kyle O'Reilly. He beat Adam Cole. Like, he's beaten a lot of big name guys. But Karrion Kross, when he had the title, the plan, I believe, was to pretty much push him to the moon. And then he got hurt. And so I look at the way they've built this, and I do appreciate that they didn't just say, "Oh, Karrion Kross, you're back. Here's your title shot again." They let him do some stuff. They let Finn Balor finish what he was doing with the Undisputed Era, to where now this is, okay, these guys were both beating people up for a long time. This is the logical progression of where this was going. We saw Karrion Kross take out all of Legado del Fantasma, including the Cruiserweight champion. I think this is a spot where Karrion Kross can show that he is so much bigger than Finn Balor. Balor can take a really big beating and not really look bad. Just, he lost to a guy that's 70 pounds, booked 70 pounds bigger than Balor is. You don't always look bad when you lose to a guy that looks like Karrion Kross. So I do think Kross regains his title. And then what you do with Balor, you've got a lot of options, whether it's North American title, going back after that, after the NXT title. He could even go after Walter, because there is that story there. I've got a unique theory with the Cruiserweight title, but I mean, he's got options there. So I do think Kross wins this one, and I think he wins it straight up.
That is a perfect little teaser as well thrown in there. Cheap plug. Check out Angry Beaver's prediction, a deeper predictions show as well he had on his channel. I really enjoyed the theory that you had with regards to Finn Balor, and I'm not going to give it away because I want people to go and watch it and listen to that. Perfect. But in terms of this match, I'm going to go with Karrion Kross as well. Are you going pinfall?
Oh, you know what?
Yeah, that's the tricky one in this one. They could be submission. They could be
him making Balor tap out. Could be a visual.
Yeah.
Oh man, I like it. I'm gonna go with the tap out. I'm gonna say that he submits him.
Nice. Yeah, I threw that in there because I was gonna go for a submission as well, but I don't think it's gonna be a tap out. I think Balor passes out. Balor passes out, and this feud continues. And it brings back a demon appearance from Finn Balor.
Oh, okay. I like it.
Yeah, you got the dark scene with Karrion Kross as it is. You've got Finn Balor being, the demon now being brought out. I think they could do something really cool if Karrion Kross and his whole gimmick can bring out the demon out of Finn Balor. And this is the only way he can kind of try and get the belt back, and then probably put Karrion Kross over again, which would be absolutely massive for him. Then, as you said, the rocket ship being strapped on his back, if you do that's gold for them. So we both gone with a submission win for that one. Unsanctioned match. Now, I've got a question for you. Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly. It's an unsanctioned match. Do you think this match should count for your record?
As far as for our prediction records?
Yes, because I mean, Britt Baker used it very well on AEW the other day to say, look, you may have won Thunder Rosa, but it didn't count. But I was leaning towards counting this one towards your record. How confident are you with regards to your prediction?
I mean, in the spirit of competition, I think let's count it. I mean, it's unsanctioned for them. It doesn't have to be unsanctioned for us. So I'm good with this one counting.
All right, cool. So we're going to take your predictions for that. But just quickly, I saw Aaron Entertainment saying, he said that Finn Balor will be passing out as well in the chat here. Guys, if you're listening to this on playback or a little bit later, by all means, please come into the chat. We love interacting with you guys. There's some cross to the moon shouts out there from Wrestling Plug. Thank you for the comments. But we moved to Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, which has probably been the best built feud, I think,
I would say so.
on this card. How do you think that it's going to go?
So I look at again, where are you going afterwards? This has been, as you mentioned, this has been built really well. I normally, with how much wrestling I watch, even when I see a heel turn, whenever I see someone betray somebody, I'm like, whoa. And then within 20 minutes, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. We've seen it before. The Adam Cole super kicking them and splitting up Undisputed Era like that, that sat with me for like a day and a half where I was like, I can't believe they did that. The video package that they put together for NXT last week was a 5-6 minute long movie trailer that was absolutely phenomenal. I loved that. I think you have a chance to have a within your own house rivalry between he and Britt Baker, Adam Cole and Britt Baker. Of, hey, you did an unsanctioned match a couple weeks ago. Now watch me go do one too. Like that. And again, that doesn't affect the storyline. It's just that's a layer for me that I like. This to me can be really, really good, and it should be. I hope that they give these guys 30-45 minutes to do this, just to tell this story that is so long in the making. I think that this gets really, really brutal. This might be one of the ones where some of the people who don't like the real physical stuff don't get into this one. I'm okay with the real brutal violent stuff if the story makes sense. And to me, this is a story where it does make sense. But as far as like who wins, to me, I look at it and go, who benefits from the win more here? And if we're trying to get Adam Cole over as this ultra evil, sadistic guy that betrayed his friends, him winning here is a way to really elevate that heel status. You can rebuild Kyle in the, oh, he lost to his friend who betrayed him, but he rises back up, and over the summer he gets built up. I think that comeback story for Kyle O'Reilly is an easy one to tell. But so I think Adam Cole wins this one. I think he wins it as clean as you can in an unsanctioned match, because we're going to get weapons and we're going to get a lot of that stuff here. I will be curious to see if the Undisputed Era other members make an appearance here. I would hope that they stay out of it, but I do think Adam Cole being the dominant heel that, you know, beats down on his lifelong friend, I think that's a cool story. And then where does he go from here? I would love to see Adam Cole just say, all right, I don't need the Undisputed Era. I'm going main roster. I know it'll cost him his Twitch channel, but you know, whatever. But so I think the story between Adam Cole and an AJ Styles can be really fun. I know a lot of people would love to see that too. So Adam Cole's done about as much as he can on NXT. You just split his group up. There's really nothing left for him to do.
So at Adam Cole taking that one. Now,
yeah.
Full disclosure for my predictions for this one, I always look for one match in a card and I go with the opposite of what I think they're going to do, just because every time they always throw some random, match in there where I'm like, oh, of course, Adam Cole's going to win this one. And then, you turn around and somehow he's lost the match and it baffles your mind. I think they're going to give it to Kyle O'Reilly. No other reason but the fact that I just think they're going to think, well, we're just going to screw with people a bit here, because it does seem like a perfect story for Adam Cole. Gets rid of Undisputed Era. He's now on his own, and he proves that this is the reason why I left you guys. I don't need you. And as you said, he can take that either to a title picture, he can take it to the main roster. He can do so much with it. It just makes too much sense that I'm going to go with Kyle O'Reilly for this one. And we'll see how the logic works out for that one. But we mentioned the North American title earlier. Night 2 comes around and Johnny Gargano will be facing, from your perspective, Cameron Grimes, from my perspective, Dexter Lumis. Does the question mark of who is going to be the contender sway how you're going to pick it? Or irrespective of who the contender will be in this match, you've got a set idea on who's going to come out on top?
I do think it matters who wins the gauntlet from night 1. To me, if it's Cameron Grimes, I think Cameron Grimes would beat Johnny Gargano. If it's Dexter Lumis, I think the same thing. If it's Swerve, probably the same thing. But to me, if it's Ruff, Reed, or LA Knight, I think that Gargano retains. So there's kind of your all options there. But I think as far as my official picks go, I do think that Grimes gets through. I think he also beats Gargano. One thing we didn't mess or that I didn't necessarily mention with the gauntlet that maybe helps get him there, so he's a little more fresh. He's got a lot of money. Who's to say he doesn't? Who's to say he doesn't buy his way into something? So, I think there can be a funny layer with that too. So, but I'm going to go with Grimes to beat Gargano on night 2.
Nice, and I'm assuming a pinfall victory for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, irrespective of who was going to win the match, I think that Gargano is going to lose the title. Unfortunately for him, I think he's just been booked into this. It's just such good TV whenever he has short title reigns. I know it's bad. You want guys to have long reigns, but him being very sour about losing a title really quickly, it's really entertaining for me. And he plays that role so well. And I think in this one, I think the story of Loomis and his feud with The Way has been played out so well. And I think Loomis finally gets a title here, and then we'll see where it goes on from there. But speaking of, short title reigns, is there going to be a short title reign for the women's tag team champions? I mean, the first title defense was probably one of the shortest in history. We've now got Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. They face The Way. If and I'll go into my prediction quickly here. I have a feeling, if Gargano is losing the NXT championship, which we both predicted, putting the titles on The Way kind of still keeps the title in the family, so to speak. Sure. So they could play on that pretty well, I think. So yeah, that kind of gives away my prediction. I'm going with The Way winning this one. How are you feeling about this reign? And do you want to cut a promo maybe at the guys at WWE with hot-shotting titles? I sense a promo coming out here.
So I also don't love the hot-shotting of titles. I don't love the way that they've booked these titles. I don't like the way that they were incepted. But I do like your layer there of, if Gargano loses his title, but you have another title within The Way, you can do a fun dynamic of like Candice and Indy are all excited because look, we're champions, while Johnny's all, begrudging and moaning about how he got screwed out of a title after facing someone who just went through a gauntlet match. But leaving that factor out, I think there can be a funny dynamic there. I really don't like hot-shotting titles. I really, really don't. But I do completely agree with you. I think Candice and Indy winning this is probably the way that this is going. Now, to me, that probably means that the reason that Shotzi and Ember were given the titles was so that you didn't have Raquel with a title, losing a title while also getting the main title. And if that's the case, that's smart, but you shouldn't have put them on them in the first place. I really don't like the way that they put those titles in place, but my Twitter ranting was enough for me. I'm good on that, but I do think The Way wins this. But yeah, I think Candice probably gets the win. And then Indy just she's probably going to look good, but I think Candice deserves a title. She's been in WWE a long time. She's gotten a lot of people over. At least give her this title. She's earned it. So
awesome stuff. We move on to the NXT Cruiserweight Championship match. Obviously, Santos Escobar, he's the champ, but you've also got a champ that feels he's still the champ in Jordan Devlin. It's a ladder match, so obviously, the whole pins submissions goes out the window for this one. But sure, who do you think is climbing that ladder and getting that Cruiserweight Championship?
I really hope that it's Escobar. To me, that makes so much more sense. During the whole shutdown where Devlin couldn't defend, he had his allegations and that whole situation. I didn't love that they kept the title on him, to be quite honest. Escobar not only defended the title very well, he made it very important. He took on Karrion Kross. I think that is a factor. I look at the way Escobar has defended the title, and he's defended it very, very well. A couple months ago, he had a match against Isaiah Swerve Scott that I was like, Swerve's winning this, absolutely, and he didn't. And Escobar has been a very good champion. I think you reward him for that. So I'm going Escobar here, and I really don't want to see Devlin with this title anymore. So
Awesome. I love it when a prediction follows what you want in your heart as well. And you're kind of hoping WWE, so it makes the match a lot more exciting. For me, Jordan Devlin just seems like someone that WWE loves way more than I do personally. I mean, you give him credit for being a good wrestler and everything, and all these people that make it to WWE, AEW, all of the main shows, they're good wrestlers, the majority of them, and they do good work. But for me, I just don't quite see it with Devlin. I'm waiting for that aha moment from my perspective of why he's valued so highly, and I just see them giving him the title again. I see them similar to how it was a showcase for Walter earlier on. I think this is going to be another showcase to try and promote NXT UK in getting Jordan Devlin to win the title. NXT UK only has one championship if Devlin doesn't win this one. So I think that might play a factor here. I think he wins it. He goes back with that title to the UK. And then the interesting thing is, does he then do the flying back and forth thing or not? Because 205 Live is still a thing. Sometimes WWE tend to forget that, unfortunately, but it's a really good show. Awesome wrestlers on there. So it will be interesting to see. But I can't get away from the fact that WWE just really loves Jordan Devlin. So that's going to be my prediction.
I think that it's the Balor comparisons as to why, which if Balor loses the NXT title, the idea of Balor and Devlin for the cruiserweight title, as somebody who loves cruiserweight wrestling, I would love to see the elevation of that title with saying like former first ever Universal champion Finn Balor is our cruiserweight champion. A lot of people might see that as a demotion. I look at that and go, no, you're trying to elevate the cruiserweights, which I know they don't, but I would love to see, to me, that makes sense. That'd be a cool thing to see. So.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And overall, how are you feeling about the show itself? We've run through the card. We've gone through everything here before we move on to WrestleMania.
Good. Did we miss Pete Dunne and Kushida though?
They snuck that one in. Let's quickly go Pete Dunne versus Kushida. Obviously, that match got made this past week on NXT TV. How do you feel about this? What should be a technical wrestling match? They're building it up as?
Yes, absolutely. I think as far as if you're looking for a good quality technical wrestling match, this is the one. Walter and Ciampa can be up there too, but I think this is going to be a very good, fast-paced technical wrestling match. I like what they've been doing with both guys. I love watching their work, but I think Kushida is the guy that they're pushing a little bit better right now. So I would go with Kushida here with a submission, actually, because of the technical element between the two. I think submission here.
I'm going to go with Pete Dunne, and I've just realized that I've gone with all the UK talent on this show. It's not on purpose.
It's very good though. They're not like, I don't look at any of those and go, no, that doesn't make any sense. Like they are logical picks. There we go.
It somehow worked out that way. I swear it wasn't planned. But I'm going to go with Pete Dunne in this one. Just the fact that he called out Kushida. I think if he's calling him out, make him back it up. Make him be able to back it up, and I think he's someone that they see possibly going to either North American or main title picture at some point in time again. So I think keeping him strong. Unfortunately for Kushida, he's one of those you want to see get pushed, but they always seem to have a justified reason or sometimes unjustified reason why he shouldn't win a match, and it always just kind of pushes him down again. Every time he's building momentum, he gets pushed down. And we've seen that with many people on the main roster. But unfortunately, he seems to be in that position in terms of NXT. But speaking of main roster, we move on to the main card, WrestleMania, the granddaddy of them all. maybe not the most well-booked WrestleMania. I think maybe it is a nice way of putting it. But one thing we know for sure is that they've got a talented roster. So bell to bell, the guys and girls are gonna knock it out the park. So I have all the confidence in the talent to still make this stuff work. As badly as some of these matches have been booked, I still think we're going to see some really good matches. Obviously, there's got the live crowd there. I think the crowd's going to help. It's going to make everything feel so much better. And it's going to be interesting to see who gets booed, who gets cheered, how WWE reacts to that, if they react to that, in terms of what they call for the different matches. I wouldn't be surprised if one or two of them kind of get called. Vince says, head out there, and we'll see who the fans like, and we'll decide who gets the belt. Whilst you guys are already out there, we've seen that happen in the past before. That could be the case here with live fans for the first time in a good while. But we'll start night one, and I'm gonna book two matches, or put two matches right next to each other, because we're not quite 100% sure which match main events, but main events night one. But we've got Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre, and then obviously we'll move on to the one after that many people also want or think or hope is going to be the main event. But we'll start off WWE Championship, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. How do you see this going? And if a certain person is winning this one, then it kind of, is it, pinfall, submission, DQ? I think that also makes it interesting as well.
Sure. I think this is one where you mentioned we might see something called in the ring. This is one that I do expect to be called in the ring. To me, I know this has been one that's a lot of people have talked about, like main eventing, and I do get that. But to me, main eventing with Bianca and Banks makes more sense to me. I would actually like to see this match kick off the show, because you talk about the live fans in the crowd. I think, given that Drew McIntyre lost out on having his WrestleMania moment last year in front of a crowd, I think you let him be the first one to enter the stadium, to be that first one to get a pop. Please don't let it be Hulk Hogan. And don't do that. Let Drew McIntyre's music be the first music to hit. He comes out, and then your champion, Bobby Lashley, comes out. You get a good way to compare the two. And I think whoever gets the better crowd reaction is who you go with. I hope that it's Bobby Lashley. To me, he's been built a little bit better. They've really made Drew look like a dork the last couple months, and I don't like that, because he shouldn't look like a dork, but he does. So I hope that it's Bobby Lashley, and I know that this won't happen, but I know that this man is in Tampa for the weekend. When the match is over and Bobby Lashley pins Drew McIntyre, all I want to hear is Lashley. I want to see Lio Rush show back up. I know it won't happen, but he's wrestling like 6 other matches in Tampa that weekend. Let him be there. But no, I think Bobby Lashley wins this one by pinfall. So,
not even submission. He's got the hurt lock.
He does, but I think it's harder to do that with a guy as big as Drew. And that can be your selling point. He maybe puts that in a few times, but Drew's able to fight his way out. And then I miss when he used to do the Dominator. What a good time to bring that move back against a guy as big as Drew McIntyre at a stage like WrestleMania. To me, that would be a cool way to do this. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with a pinfall there.
Nice. I'm gonna go pinfall as well, but I'm gonna go against you here. I'm gonna go with Drew McIntyre, and it's for the very reason you gave early on, which is he didn't have his crowning moment, so to speak, in front of fans. And I think, Vince kind of gives him the nod here to say, look, you didn't get it last year. I'll give it to you this year. My heart wants Bobby Lashley to win, because I think he's been booked really well, one of the better booked people on main roster recently. And the Hurt Business kind of being broken up last week, that for me was kind of telling.
On brutal.
It was not good. And even the wrestlers themselves weren't happy with it. Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful Select obviously broke the news there that they weren't happy with it either. But I think I think that Drew gets his crowning moment in this one. As I say, my heart wants Bobby, but I just see Drew getting that moment. And whether or not it main events, I think that it does main event, based on how both the matches have been booked. I think this one has been booked a lot stronger than the match we're going to speak about just now. And in my heart, I want Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair to headline it. I thought it something that was so simple. You have your challenger, you have your champion, you have the up and comer, you have, Sasha Banks, who's got the title, who is, the best, the EST, so to speak, in her eyes. And then you get the actual person that uses EST as her moniker, and she wins the Royal Rumble. She's now a younger, better version than you, kind of thing, was how I thought they were going to book it. But alas, that didn't happen. And it just seemed like, to me, they were trying to justify why it shouldn't be the main event with the way that they booked it. And yeah, but anyway, so we've got Lashley losing by pinfall to Drew McIntyre, from my perspective, to end the night with the fireworks and all of the, hurrah that comes with that. The match then that probably opens it, or vice versa, ends the night, is Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. As I've said, I'm not happy with the build at all. I thought it's so simple. Just get out of their way. The story kind of books itself, and the way they've booked the show has actually changed my pick for this one. So initially, I thought when Bianca won Royal Rumble, I thought this build is going to be perfect. Younger, better version of Sasha Banks. Not to say she is, but that's how it would be told. The story will be told. And she then goes on and beats Sasha. That then forces Sasha to turn heel. She gets really angry. If you want to continue the feud afterwards, fine. But with the way they've built it, I just think they've kind of cooled Bianca Belair down a lot, taking pinfalls left, right, and center. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Sasha Banks retaining the title. It sucks from my personal perspective, but I call it like I see it in terms of how they've booked it. And I suppose that's the unique thing about this prediction show is, how do you see WWE viewing these people? And in my eyes, the way they've booked it, they view Sasha Banks keeping this title.
Yeah, I don't like the booking of this. It's been a lot of the can they coexist and Cirque du Soleil performers and all that stuff. And like it's not been good. As you said, they should have just said, you've got an easy to tell story. Let them tell it. The dynamic of babyface to heel, I think you mentioned the perception that Bianca Belair is this newer, younger version. It would have been an easy spot for Sasha Banks as the heel to say, everyone keeps saying that, but I'm 3 years younger than you, because she is. And to me, like, that is something where you play off of the perceptions of what a lot of people think, because you're right. A lot of people look at Bianca Belair and think, oh, next Sasha Banks. They're not really that similar. They're both very, very good wrestlers. They're both very, very good promos. They're entertaining. They're charismatic. They're the stars you want. This could have been, we talk about 2 years ago with the triple threat women's main event and how historic that would have been. For that and so many more reasons, this could have been another move forward in a direction that I didn't think we'd see for a long time. And they really got in the way of just an easy, good story that they could tell. And so that sucks. But I think as far as the match goes, they will give them the time, I hope. Let them work 15, 20, 25 minutes to tell a good story here, because these two, as good as their offense is, they're both very good at selling too. So this can be a match where you've got a lot of emotion involved in this. But as far as picking a winner goes, I'm picking with my heart here, and I'm picking Bianca Belair, because all you have to do to me is you replay that moment at Royal Rumble when she won and she was whipping her hair around, pointing at the sign. I hate the point at the sign thing, but when she did it, it was just emotional and it was real. And all you got to do is promo that right before, and everyone will buy in. And it's a moment that can be the beautiful thing that the story should have been, despite a bad story, we can still get that great ending that I would love to see, as you mentioned, with the fireworks going again, with the WrestleMania sign, to get that poetic symmetry between this is where it starts, this is where it ends. So I want to see Bianca Belair win this, and I'll go with a pinfall there too. So
Awesome stuff. My win would be submission, Bianca tapping out. I feel I feel like I'm betraying her saying this right now,
So,
but
so if Bianca loses this, I think you have an easy to flip match though, or story that you can do where that breaks her to the point where she goes heel, because Bianca can be a very good heel.
yeah.
And I think if you're going to have Banks win this, you either right after the match or night two or on SmackDown, the next time we see Bianca Belair, she needs to be turning heel if she loses. So, yeah.
Okay, and quickly before we move on to the next match, we saw in the chat Dole Whips and Mickey Bars. He's mentioned that Drew McIntyre and Bobby were opening night one. Apparently, that's been announced. So if that happens, that does that also then further confirm a Bianca win? Because I mean, if that match main
Good
events
point.
the fireworks, you can't really have fireworks for Sasha Banks, so she's kind of going to be playing heel in this. I don't know. I'm feeling very scared about my pick all of a sudden, but I'll stick to my guns.
Sure.
I'll say Sasha Banks wins it. The next match that follows this one is the New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. Yeah, a brand new tag team. I don't know if they've been registered yet in time. They have not confirmed yet whether or not they've been registered, but they've got a title shot.
Yeah, I think this is a very smart way to get Amasa in there. He's with probably the three of the best workers in the entire business. They're going to, I mean, Xavier Woods sells hurt more than almost anyone in the business. Like, he is so good at it. Kofi's very, very good at selling too. This is going to be a spot where you can go look at how massive Amos is. AJ Styles can do a lot of the heavy lifting with the offense there. Um, I think that AJ and Omos win the tag team titles. I don't love that for the New Day, but they've also had these titles 11 times. This isn't hurting their legacy a bit. And I didn't like the taking the titles off of Cedric and Shelton. And I like that even less, seeing where they took that. But if you were going to try to book AJ Styles and Omos in a WrestleMania tag team title match, the New Day makes way more sense than the Hurt Business does. So I think that helps that make a little bit more sense. But I do think Styles and Omos are your tag champions. I think as far as who's the winner here, I think Styles deserves to get the pinfall here, and Omos can get his fun spots. But if Styles is doing the heavy lifting, he needs to also be rewarded with the pin there. So I think he probably pins Xavier. So
yeah, and I don't, as you mentioned, I don't think it hurts the New Day, because I'm going to go with AJ and Amos winning this one as well. And I think AJ's done really well, whether he's being comedic, whether he's being serious. He just knocks it out the park every time for me. And I've loved the dynamic that they've had with him and Amos. And I think New Day was the perfect team to bring that out of them, that comedic side out of them. Obviously, you got to feel for the Hurt Business. I thought they should have just kept the titles and kept the Hurt Business together. But that's a whole nother podcast all on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with pinfall, AJ Styles getting the pin there. The next match in night one is Bad Bunny versus The Miz. Now, I'm pretty sure we all thought this match was going to be a tag team match. Bad Bunny must be doing some impressive stuff at the Performance Center if it stays one-on-one. Obviously, we haven't had the privilege of watching Raw, which will be tomorrow night. Do they make it a tag team, or do they just keep it the way it is? And how do you see this match going?
So I was very surprised when they announced this as a singles match instead. Now I don't know if the landscape of the world is the reason why, or not to speculate anything, but like I don't know if that's why, or if it's just no, he looks a lot better than they thought he would. Because I mean, you want to protect your celebrity, not wrestlers, especially in a spot like WrestleMania. But from all accounts that I've heard, he's really working very hard, and the roster is really taken to him. Uh, Miz is a guy that can work well enough with those talents and not not make it like unbelievable, because Miz looks very much like a typical suburban dad, and he just wrestles on the weekends. Like that's what he looks like. And so to me, like if he holds his own with Bad Bunny type of thing, like that's not that big of a deal. But I do think, oh, Snooky. I think Bad Bunny's gonna do a lot better. That punch that he threw the other week, that actually looked very good. So I think this is a spot where they're going, hey, you know what? We appreciate what you guys have been doing. This has been building. This is one of the longest built feuds on the WrestleMania card. This started at Royal Rumble, and they're still going. So I think Bad Bunny's going to be your winner here. I think he's going to pin the Miz. And I normally don't love that for your. I don't know if he's first or second on the all-time Intercontinental title reigns, but I know he's up there. I don't normally love that, but Miz is a guy that, like I said, he looks like a regular dad. So if he loses to a guy like Bad Bunny, like that's, I won't be surprised if we see Damian Priest interfere somehow, because to leave Damian Priest out of this entirely doesn't make any sense to me. He's earned at least an appearance since you're taking him out of the match in the first place. So my guess is Priest probably comes in, hits him with some kind of move, and then Bad Bunny gets the pinfall that way. But I am going to pick Bad Bunny to win here.
Awesome stuff. Now, for me, the whole Bad Bunny situation, I thought it was good for him coming in purely because it's a celebrity that likes wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen so many times celebrities come in, they don't even have a clue who some of the talent are or what the stories are. He seems to know like what's going on. He appreciates, the work that the talent does. Him wiping his feet before he got into the ring was just like that.
Beautiful.
That was perfect. So I think he must be working really hard, and I think for him this is a dream, like to be on the WrestleMania card, and he doesn't want to look bad. Obviously financially as well, I think he's been a big boost for WWE in terms of just merchandising and stuff. So for this match, I think the Miz actually wins this one. And I think it's what allows for a Damian Priest and the Miz feud to follow after this, kind of like a revenge thing for Damian Priest. And if you can really get the Miz to heal it up, which the Miz can kind of play any character really, if he really heals it up and takes out Bad Bunny, that could make a really cool babyface out of Damian Priest. That could turn casual fans into being like, oh, we want Damian Priest to now kick this guy's ass. I can't believe he beat up Bad Bunny, that type of thing. So I think they could do something fun there. And as we mentioned, Bad Bunny being a huge fan of wrestling, I think he's one of the celebrities that wouldn't mind losing because he would get the story. Whereas other celebrities will kind of be like, no, I'm coming on, I want to win. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think he would be able to get the long-term story and help Damian Priest get that babyface push. Speaking of pushing, is Braun Strowman pushing Shane McMahon off of the cage? Like something's going on here, right?
So that is what I think is going to happen. I think Shane is going to win the match because he's going to get thrown off the cage, but thrown off out of the ring. Now, my problem with this is that the only reason I'm okay with seeing Shane McMahon at WrestleMania is because I know it comes with a oh my gosh spot. When we see Shane once, twice, three times a year, and he's not the core of SmackDown like he was when he was the best in the world. When we see him sparingly like that, I love Shane McMahon. When I saw he's going to be at WrestleMania, I thought he's going to get thrown off the pirate ship. And I know that's going to make everyone mad because that's Kevin Owens' spot. And then I saw this and went, oh, okay, so he's not getting thrown off the pirate ship, but we're still getting that big thrown off spot. He's going to get thrown off the cage and he's going to win because Braun is mad and Braun wants to get revenge. The problem is when you do that, the whole storyline has been Braun is stupid. So how does he get revenge? Well, the guy that was calling him stupid, he throws him off the cage and then he loses because he's stupid. And I just don't like that. But I do think Shane is the winner here by getting thrown off of the cage and Because I think we've seen Braun do that to somebody else before. I can't remember who it was, but I think a couple years ago, Braun had a cage match where he threw the person off the cage and said, "Yeah, I didn't care about the match. I just wanted to beat you up." I think we're going to get that again.
That is such perfect WWE booking logic there. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to mess up that perfect prediction. Yeah, I'm going to go with Shane by Braun throwing him off the cage. Oh, that is perfect. We move on to Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. Now, for this match specifically, not only do I want your prediction of who wins it, how they win it, I also want a prediction on how many spins Cesaro is going to get on Seth Rollins.
So they asked this on SmackDown the other night. They said, "Are we going to get 37 for WrestleMania 37?" I think Cesaro has been doing these excessive spins because he's trying to build up his endurance. I think we're going to get 37 spins.
Oh my word.
And despite that, I think Seth Rollins will win the match because Cesaro is the guy that if you want to say, "Hey, get this person a good win," but we don't want to bury anybody, we use Cesaro as the guy to do that. And that sucks for Cesaro because he's so good. But his role within WWE seems to be very defined of the get a good win guy for somebody else. Rollins doesn't typically lose at WrestleMania. He lost last year. He's trying to build this comeback with fantastic suits, by the way. But I think Rollins wins this one, and I do think he wins it by a pinfall, but I think Cesaro gets his 37 swings in there.
Oh, awesome stuff. Yeah, I think he'll get 37 as well. It's there to be done. I like the theory that he's been building up the momentum to get to 37. I hadn't picked that up yet, but that's a good shot. For me, I actually think Cesaro wins this one. It's purely influenced by who I think wins the main event of night 2. So I'll bleed into that earlier.
Okay.
And I think I think they need baby faces. I really think they need baby faces because there's going to be a heel that wins in night 2 for me. And Seth Rollins, one of those guys that won't be hurt by losing. And I think it actually helps further build his character by losing this one because it drives him further insane. And hopefully it brings out even more insane suits as well, as you mentioned. But we'll move on to night 2. And I teased this match just now, and we'll go straight up. We're kind of going to go top heavy here. It's Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. I mean, there's no question that this is the main event of night 2. You would imagine. Crazier things have happened, but
that would be a bad mistake.
That would be a big one, right? Yeah. For this match, I kind of hinted at it. I think Roman Reigns keeps the title because Edge and Daniel Bryan just can't get out of each other's way. I think that's the story they're going to tell because Edge this whole time has been wanting a one-on-one match, and Daniel Bryan is going to cost him that and cost him in this match because of that. And they can then kind of tail off into a mini feud, a number 1 contender feud, which leads to maybe a SummerSlam or something. But in the meantime, Roman needs a challenger to beat, and that's going to be Cesaro. I think he gets the nod of, okay, we kind of need baby faces for Roman to get through. Get Roman a nice word. Please let Roman just beat Cesaro clean when it happens. I don't need any shenanigans there. Just let him be strong. A heel can win and be strong from that side of things. But I'm going to go with Roman Reigns winning this one via pinfall. I think Edge and Daniel Bryan just can't get out of their own ways.
Yeah, I thoroughly agree with the core match there. The other layer that you gave, I do like that with Cesaro. On SmackDown on Friday before Mania, we're going to get the Andre the Giant Battle Royale. I would like to see Shinsuke Nakamura win that because we saw him a couple months ago get screwed out of a title match against Roman. So for the same reasons that you mentioned for Cesaro, I'm going to go back a night and predict that Shinsuke wins the Battle Royal, and then that can be kind of how they build that back into Roman for like what you said with another feud there. Cesaro would work very well for that too. But as far as the match itself goes, I think Roman pins Daniel Bryan. I think, as you said, Edge is mad that Daniel Bryan cost him his shot. You can do the Daniel Bryan Edge one-on-one match that I really was hoping that they would just kind of do singles matches here, but we're getting the triple threat. But I would like to see Edge and Bryan do a number one contenders, as you mentioned, and then building that back in SummerSlam as Roman against one of the two of them. But I do think that Roman retains here. It doesn't make any sense to me to take the title off of him. He is the best thing in professional wrestling right now. Why do you mess that up? You don't need to.
Yeah, please. If there's one match that needs to go the right way in terms of how we're predicting it, please let it be this match. I'm okay with them.
Now that I'm going to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah,
We did see Roman tap out before, and that's been a thing. I'm going to say Roman makes Bryan tap. I don't know what gets Edge away long enough. Maybe you get a crazy spot or something, but I'm going to say that Bryan taps to Roman. Just because I think that's a unique way to have Roman get revenge for that.
That would be perfect storytelling. I think that's too good a storytelling for them to remember.
Maybe that's in the rematch or something down the road.
It would be perfect. And if you get that shot, I might just give you 2 bonus points for that. I'm being honest, because that would be really awesome. We move on to someone that I've done my when I book people on, I do my research, and I know this person is a fan favorite for you. Rhea Ripley is challenging Asuka for the title. I mean, you're going one way here, right?
Yes, it is Rhea all day long. Hey, Ron. But yeah, it's Rhea all day long for me. And like, I do feel bad for Asuka because Asuka's very, very good, but her title run has been real bad. She's been tag team feud side piece for Lana, for Charlotte. I mean, like the WrestleMania match that was supposed to be for this title was supposed to be Charlotte Flair and Lacey Evans. My goodness, thank you, Lacey Evans' husband. Seriously, like I did not need that. I wish that they would have built Rhea up properly because we saw her show up at Royal Rumble and she looked fantastic. Let her beat a bunch of people before she debuts and goes, I want a title shot. But the build aside, we're gonna see Rhea and Asuka tomorrow against Shayna and Nia, just as a reminder for that. But I want to see Rhea win this. I would love to see her hold this title for a long time. I won't be mad if Charlotte gets added to this because like Rhea didn't do anything to earn this, and Charlotte can come in and go, you didn't earn this. I did. And then you have this story with Rhea and Charlotte from last year that you can revisit there. But I do think Rhea wins this one. I would love to see her hold on to this until Ronda comes back. If Becky comes back after a long time, like I want Rhea holding this for a long time. What I would love to see is next year WrestleMania, she holds it a full year, and you have her go up against the Royal Rumble winner that I'll predict right now, 2022 Royal Rumble women's winner, Raquel Gonzalez. We can build that back up. That would be awesome. I want to see that. So, but I do think Rhea wins this one, and I think she wins by pinfall. And I don't know what you do with Asuka afterwards, but hopefully they at least use her because they haven't used her well at all.
I see what you're doing. You're pushing for a Hall of Fame nomination for the predictions here. I mean that is some shout going into 2020 already. You've had a strong showing so far, but that's Hall of Fame worthy kind of shout. That
I did predict Edge like 9 months before on that Royal Rumble. Just saying.
This is why I brought him on the show. Everybody, he knows his stuff. Look, I'm. It's not to piss you off or anything, I swear, but I'm gonna go with Asuka. And because
I get it. Like they've poorly booked Rhea at WrestleMania before. Look at last year. So no, I all good.
I can see them not understanding what they have in Rhea. Mm-hmm. Just because of the way they've booked her. They've shown me they don't understand what they have in Rhea. And I can see them thinking, well, okay, Asuka, we've kind of screwed you over. We're sorry. Here, you can keep the title, and then we promise we'll book you better, and we'll see how that goes. I won't hold my breath. But it's also part of my random match in the card logic of this. Just seems so obvious. Give it to Rhea, let her carry the title. No, that's not WWE. Unfortunately, at times when logic seems so perfect, sometimes they throw something like this where Asuka wins the title. But we got a very interesting one here in Big E. He takes on Apollo Crews. Obviously, this is Apollo Crews' 523rd title shot in the space of about 2 months. Is this lucky number 523?
So I don't like how many shots he's had at this title, but I'm gonna say that WWE did this to themselves. Obviously, they booked the show, but as far as Apollo's character, I'm gonna defend him here and say that he's used to getting this many chances. When he was on Raw last year, he went after the Hurt Business like 15 matches in a row. How many title shots did he get for that US title? Both as the champion and as challenger. He goes over to SmackDown and thinks this is just how it works. I get 9, 10, 11, 12 shots. But I do agree with your premise of like, you're going to do this over and over again. You're going to do it for a reason. He's going to get it eventually. I love Big E. To me, he should probably be one of those guys that's challenging Bobby Lashley. And I know different show. He should be challenging Roman Reigns. Like he should be in that main title picture. Um, but I do think that Apollo wins this one because again, like what better time to pull the trigger on this than WrestleMania? And I don't love losing your way into a WrestleMania title match that you then win. But like, why are we still doing this if you're not going to do it at some point? And what better point to do it than right here? So I do think that Apollo wins this one. It's a Nigerian drum match, so I don't really know the rules of that. It sounds like it's just a no DQ, and then they're going to probably do something weird with it. But I think Apollo wins this one, and I think the only way you can win this is by DQ, or not by DQ, by pinfall. They'd probably find a way to DQ this one, but I'll go with a pinfall there.
Yeah, I have no clue what a Nigerian drum fight is either. It'll be interesting to see what it is. I'm going to go with this one's a tricky one. I was tossing. I've changed my mind on this one. I think every single time I've spoken about this match, but officially, I think I'm going to go with. You went with.
I went with Apollo.
With Apollo Crews, yeah, I think I'm going to go with Apollo as well, and I think the feud just continues, just because of how many chances Apollo's had. Big E can kind of say, "Well, give me one of those chances back." The match that is also next on this card, we've got Matt Riddle versus Sheamus. Now, I know the conspiracy theorists out there, and we haven't got into the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match yet, but I can hear their heads. You know, they're starting to sense a pattern here. Another UK person in a match. What's Tab Predict's going to predict? I'm going to go with Sheamus. I'm sticking with the UK pride here. I'm going to go with Sheamus. I think this is just a thank you for putting in some awesome Raw matches over the past months, some awesome pay-per-view matches. This is a nod to Sheamus to just say thank you so much for all the work you've done, especially for a guy who could have almost retired, you know, and he's pulling out these just physical, brutal matches. And Riddle hasn't really been booked as the strongest champion, so I can see him losing this match quite easy, not easily in terms of, you know, how the match goes. I think it's going to be a really physical match, but yeah, I'm gonna go with a clean sweep of UK talent here. I'm gonna go with Sheamus.
No, I'm actually going to go with Sheamus as well. For a lot of the reasons, for all those, for a lot of those mentioned or reasons that you mentioned as well. Even when he was on SmackDown before the draft and everything, he was putting together, ironically enough, really good matches with Matt Riddle, and you know the really bad Jeff Hardy story. That for those who are new to me, Jeff Hardy is like why I watch professional wrestling. 9-year-old me just saw TLC and was like, oh my gosh. That story was really bad, but they have put him in a lot of really good matches. I think this is a thanks for your service. And we've seen him fight Riddle a couple of times. We just saw him beat Riddle. So that probably means that Riddle will retain here, but I do think Sheamus wins this one, and I'll go with a pinfall here too.
Yeah, pinfall for me as well. We mentioned conspiracy theorists earlier. Sami Zayn takes on Kevin Owens. I mean, I'm just glad these guys are getting a one-on-one match because we've seen over the years, you look at the Shield, for example, they never had that WrestleMania
Mm-hmm.
blow-off match for the three of them. We've seen so many different just feuds that should have happened, and then the person either leaves or retires or something, and we just don't get that satisfying one-on-one WrestleMania match. This is a match that, I mean, for a year, almost a decade now, we've all said one day Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn one-on-one WrestleMania, and we've all probably thought it was going to be for the title. I certainly think it's a match that would have, the story behind it can be a title match, but alas, they haven't had enough time for me in terms of booking. But that's kind of been the theme of this WrestleMania. How do you see Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn going? And for the bonus point, what is Kevin Owens jumping off of?
So I would love to see him jump off the pirate ship. You got to find the right spot though, because like if you've seen any of the video or the screenshots of what it looks like, there are some spots on there that it's like if he jumps off this, he will die, and I don't want
Yeah.
that. So maybe like the top part of like the main deck of the pirate ship, he jumps off of that or something, or if they've got like a not a ladder, but like the steps to go up the boat. He gets to like the top where the steps meet the boat, and he jumps off of that or something. So I'll say that as far as the jumping off stuff is towards the top of the main part of the boat. I think Kevin Owens wins this one. I don't really know how you do this though, because I believe this is supposed to be a straight up singles match. I don't know. This one's not no DQ. So I don't know how you get that pirate spot in there unless it's some kind of post match brawl and then you get it there. But I think Kevin Owens wins this one because the idea of Sammy having this conspiracy against him, if he wins at WrestleMania, it's hard to say that the system is rigged against you. And so if he loses, it's look, Kevin Owens, he betrayed me. He's with the corporate stooges now. And like you can do that story where Sammy can keep being the conspiracy theorist. And so I'm gonna go with Kevin Owens to win this one. I'll say that he wins it by a disqualification. I'll say that Sammy gets screwed here, and like the ref thinks that he used a weapon or something, and then he didn't, but the system is rigged against him. So yeah, I'll go Kevin wins by DQ because we haven't predicted any DQs either. So WWE loves those.
They do love a DQ. I'm going to go with the Kevin Owens just straight pinfall. I think it will result from some shenanigans, but then the stunner for the pinfall, I think is going to work out there. Obviously, as we said, haven't had that much of a long build, but I have enjoyed Sami Zayn's work. The crazier he's getting, I think it just plays really well. We'll see how the story goes on from there. Speaking of crazy and stories developing, this story has had quite a long time. The Fiend versus Randy Orton. Now, first and foremost, this isn't just a one-on-one match, is it? Like you can't put us through months of just absolute craziness to then say, oh yeah, the ref is going to start counting to 10 if you step outside the ring. The guy was put on fire, man.
Yeah, and that's I talked with my brother about this, and my brother is very much a like he has a level of patience for WWE's shenanigans that I don't understand how he does. He said to me 20 minutes before you and I went on the air, he said, let them play it out. They've still got a go home show. What a time to announce this new stipulation. And I'm like, dude, you are defending them in a level that's not acceptable. But I'm with you. Like the last time these two made physical contact with each other, Bray got lit on fire. He now is supposed to go in a straight wrestling match where he has to adhere to like rope breaks and countouts and like, I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense. This should have been a funhouse match. And I guess to my brother's credit, we got one more show. So maybe they'll announce something different. But to me, this is a perfect spot where you do the funhouse match. And maybe what they do is they start it as a straight wrestling match in the ring, and then it goes out of the ring. They work their way backstage, And yeah, it's a double count out, but when they get backstage, they all of a sudden up in the Firefly Funhouse and it turns cinematic. It'd be a weird way to do things, but I would like that at least. But you have Randy Orton's 20-year career worth of content that you can give the Cena Funhouse treatment to. You have the Randy News Network with 37% shoulder mobility. You have him pooping in people's suitcases. You have him burying people all the time, handshaking people with piss on his hands. Like, there's a lot of material that he can go after. And to me, a funhouse match where the last thing that Orton has to do is he's holding a match and he's got to see a different version of the Fiend and see if he can light that on fire. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you can do there. And we're supposed to get a straight up wrestling match. That's weird to me. It doesn't make any sense to me to let the Fiend lose after being off for this much time, giving him a new look. I do wonder if this new look is a temporary, like, reincarnation before, like, there's that whole thing of a phoenix burns itself to death and reignites into something beautiful. Bray's a deep dude to where I could see him doing that, but like, you don't have him lose this match, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm gonna go with the Fiend to win this one. I don't know how they do it, but it'll be some kind of shenanigans.
Yeah, look, if it is just a normal match, or if it's in the Funhouse, I think either way the Fiend should win it. In terms of it being a one-on-one match, I hope it's not. I hope they just do a Funhouse match and they announce it on Raw at least, or even just as a surprise, they make it a Funhouse match, the day before. In terms of one thing I do want in the match for fantasy booking wise, there has to be a scene where Randy Orton walks past John Cena, who's kind of just sitting there like, dude, I've been stuck here for a year or whatever. Like something like that.
Yeah, we haven't seen him since last year's WrestleMania. He has not been in an actual wrestling match in like 2 years. I never thought we'd see that from Cena. I never thought we'd see him go that long.
Yeah, and obviously he has the Hollywood commitments.
Sure.
So I don't know how viable that is, but I think that would be a really, really cool spot. Now, we've kind of gone through the card for WrestleMania. Somehow they've made a WrestleMania as well, with SmackDown being a kind of a pre-show. You've mentioned the Andre Memorial Battle Royal. There's
Sure.
also the tag team match as well that's been thrown on there. I don't know if this will count in our official WrestleMania stuff, because I'm sorry, it's like you're putting it on SmackDown, put it on the main card. But anyway,
Yeah.
you mentioned Shinsuke. Is that your official thought process with regards to that one? And lastly, we'll go on to the tag team match. Obviously, I'm assuming it's going to be a fatal 4-way tag match. How do you see both matches going?
So I do. First, I see some comments there about the honking. I apologize. My wife just got home, so she was over with with my parents for Easter. So apologize to Ron, who was sleeping while watching us. Wake up, sir. But no, I do think Shinsuke wins the Battle Royal. The tag championship doesn't, like, we talk about belts not getting used very well. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode, whatever he's going by right now, they won those titles in December. They have not defended them one time. And now they're going to defend them on the, like, I guess it didn't earn a WrestleMania spot, but like, you got to defend those titles. It will be frustrating to me if they put them back on Street Profits, because that's who they took them off of. And it was, okay, we took them off of you for 4 months to do nothing. Like, that's lazy. There's the story with the Mysterios, and I know that Vince wants to do the tug at the heartstring stuff. I'm gonna go with the Mysterios to win that one. I don't know, like, is it supposed to be just a straight up fatal 4-way tag match, or is this, we getting some kind of cool ladder deal or something? Because we don't really have any WrestleMania ladder matches, and we normally get those.
Well, it's not even on WrestleMania, so
Right.
officially we don't get any.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's just going to be a straight off fatal 4-way as things stand. We'll see if things develop during the week. Obviously, a week in WWE is years.
Sure.
for what they could possibly do. But I think we'll end this prediction show in harmony, because I'm going to go with the Mysterios as well. I think WWE want that image. They want. I know Ray really wants to be tag team champs with his son, and I think they could build cool storylines going forward with that. But I think that's going to do it for this brand new show. Obviously, it's first show. You've already called out someone in terms of who you think should be your next challenger, and it will be interesting to see whether or not he responds. I know Anakin JMT, he's gonna do something. I can see him cutting a promo. And obviously we've got Wicked Crazy Crew TV. Maybe Tuesday night he comes in hot with a promo. I don't know. We'll see how that pans out. But in terms of plugs, do you have anything you want to plug, put over, or promote before we wrap up?
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at AngryBeaver1127. I do wrestling prediction shows as well for Impact, AEW, and WWE, both main roster and NXT. So those are typically linked up right at the top of my Twitter page. So give those a follow, give them a like, thumbs up, all that stuff. Do the same with this video as well. If you can, give a thumbs up and a like, and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, you can find me on there. I do a lot of Twitter with wrestling and some non-wrestling stuff too, but mostly wrestling. So appreciate it.
Awesome stuff. It was awesome having you on, and it will be cool to, I'm sure, have you on in the next pay-per-view shows, prediction shows that we do, and to see if you can stay king of the hill. Let's see if you can do what you're hoping Rhea Ripley does, and that is win the title, keep it for a whole year, and go on until Mania next year. We'll see how well you do on that, and we'll be trying to get some really cool, fun guests to come on, challenge you. But obviously, we got to start off with the big feud, you versus Anakin JMT. I think is going to be really exciting. I'm looking forward to that one myself. In terms of plugs from myself, check out Crazy Wicked Pinfall. Hey, look who's joined us. Throwback.
I want to say this much before you sign off, is that I'm guaranteeing on Tuesday night, knowing as well as I know Anakin, whose name's Joel, you're going to have to come on, Tad, for that, because you're going to end up having to sit there and our buddy John, Wrestling Plug Inc., all four of you be on screen, and I'll just sit back and watch John eating popcorn. That's all I wanted to say. Check out Tuesday.
We do go on pretty late. So for your time, we normally go on at 8 our time, which is half an hour from now. So it would be a pretty late night for you. But yeah, definitely more than welcome on that show. We do have a good time. Anakin and I scream at each other a lot. It's kind of funny.
I will try and make that show. That would be really, really fun. Obviously, as I mentioned, Wicked Crazy Crew TV, check that out. Check out all of the stuff that our executive producer behind the glass, he just popped up on the screen, Throwback. Thank you again for the platform. Thank you for the opportunity to host the show. That's really, really awesome. Obviously, shout out to Rob as well. All the guys that were in the chat, thank you so much for joining us live. Thank you for all of your comments. We see them, we read them. A few of them popped up as we were doing the show as well. So definitely, if you're listening to this, playback wise, come into the live chat. There's some awesome guys and girls there. We have some fun. We interact with you guys the whole time throughout the show. We get awesome information from people. I know Dole gave us the information about what's going to be opening night 1 as well. So it's really fun for us as well to be able to interact with you guys. And then from a personal perspective, I also host what would be soccer in the US, but football here, English Premier League predictions show. It's called A Tad Predictable. We just go through the fixtures for that weekend or that game week. We have some fun games on there as well. So if you guys, it's a great show if you want to be introduced to football as well, because we break down how we think the games are going to go. Nothing too technical or anything like that. It's really fun to interact and get involved in that. You can also find me at Tad Predicts on Twitter. As I said, Angry Beaver. You can find him on Twitter as well. Thank you so much, Ray, for coming on. You can find him at AngryBeaver1127. And then also you can find Throwback on Twitter as well. I'm going to get his Twitter handle now. Throwback is at Throwback978. So check him out. And remember, Chisinga Peri, Chinoshura. Now, the reason I use that catchphrase at the end, if you listen to the A Tad Predictable Soccer Show, I use that prediction. I use that as my sign off for that show, but I've never explained what it actually means. So I'm from Zimbabwe, and that's Shona. It basically means all good things come to an end. So this is the one and only time. It's a little bonus for you guys. This is the one and only time I'll ever explain what that catchphrase means. So if there are guys listening from the A Tad Predictable podcast, you guys have a leg up now. You know what it means. But as I said, first and last time that I'll ever use that. Thanks again for joining us, guys. Take care.
Thank you.